Alright, welcome everybody. I have a quick little video for you here. I had some people talk to me on Facebook about how embedding wire works on frames. So I'm going to do a quick little demonstration of the way that I do that. Because I think it's easier to show a lot of people than tell. I'm a visual learner myself, so having someone show me how to do something works a whole lot better than having someone tell me how to do it. And I figure there's probably one or two of you out there that way also. So let's start out with the tools that we're using. I've got our normal beehive tool there. Got a wire crimper. I'll show you how to use that in a minute. I have an old pizza cutter which I use to trim foundation. I'll show you how that works. Over here I have a little mini crock pot filled with melted wax. Now you don't want to have a crock pot just on because you can't control the temperature very well unless you've got a crock pot that does control the temperature. So I bought this little temperature controller right here. It's really handy. I also use it for camping. If I'm at a campground with electricity, I will hook this up to a dehumidifier, and if it's cool, then I can use the dehumidifier to heat the tent and keep everything dry. And I'll tell you what, it is so much more fun camping when your tent is dry. Also, what you can't see off screen here, these little wires will make the demonstration. These wires are hooked to a 12-volt battery, which is sitting under my table right here. And so you can see it's legitimate. And then that battery is hooked up to a trickle charger or a battery maintainer right over there, which keeps the battery full so that when I go to embed these wires, I have full power. So I'm going to do 2 frames of deeps and 2 of mediums, and you'll see why in a minute. This frame has eyelets. It's been wired. You see I put the ends of my wires here so that they stay away from the end bars. I don't like to put, you can see the hole there from the last time this was wired. I used to put the nails in the sidebars like that, but I find that sometimes they come out and then your frames don't fit together all the time very well, and the further they are apart they start building up propolis, and then it just gets worse and worse. So I don't do that anymore. That's something I've learned over the years. So we're going to start with this frame, which is pre-wired. You can probably find on some of my other videos how to wire frames, but this is just about embedding. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tighten up the wires because they're loose. Just give them a little bit. Don't have to crimp the whole thing. If you do it too tight, you'll bow the end bars, which these end bars are already bowed a little bit. You see that curve there? Don't want to get too much more than that because eventually your foundation won't fit, and then we have problems with bee space and other things. So this one I'm going to do a standard wedge top style. I just happen to have wedges sitting down here in a bucket. This one's got nails in it. I'm going to pull those nails out. Oh, forgot to mention the other piece of equipment I'm using, or supplies. These are 3/4 by 18 gauge nails, just 3/4 little nails. I like the 3/4. They're long enough so you can get your fingers on them and nail them in without beating your fingers up too much. That's always handy. Alright, so I'm just going to clean this off just a little bit, make sure there's nothing getting in my way. Oh, by the way, this is beekeeping is messy, everybody. So if you think you're going to have a perfectly clean beekeeping area to work on, you can just give that up right now. Okay, so I have my box of small cell wax foundation here. This foundation was purchased at Man Lake. One of the things that I like to do, which I have not seen a whole lot of other people doing, is I like to cut off about 3/8 of an inch of foundation off the bottom of the frame, and that gives the bees plenty of space to put drone comb if they so want to do that. I just dumped that in my little thing there because wax is totally recyclable. And then I can put this in my frame, and all I want to do is just set it so that the top edge is right up against the top edge there. And then I'm going to clip my wire right on that wire right there. Now I want you to watch how quickly this goes. You'll have 2 chances to see this. I want you to watch how quickly this goes. And I'm just going to be nonchalant about it and let it happen, because there's 4 passes of wire through here, and that gives us plenty of time to work. So here we go. You see it start to melt through. And normally I would just kind of, if there's any spots that didn't come through, I'm going to hold them down and melt them in until they get there. Okay, see that? That is melted in. It is now permanently and fully attached. It is not pressed in like with a spur embedder, which I do not like. It is fully in there. Okay, and it only took a few seconds, and it wasn't too fast to control. Alright, I was going to get a voltmeter just to show you exactly the voltage, but I guess it's not important. Because I didn't. That's why it's not important. Funny how that works. Now I'm just going to put 2 nails. I've seen people use 1 nail. I don't think that works terribly well. I've used up to 5 nails. I think that's probably too many. I'm going to nail them in at an angle. See the nail they're in at an angle there? I'm going to put the wedge in like such. I'm going to put it on the edge of the table here. Hopefully you can still see that. And nail it in. Oops, bent that one over. Had to redo that. Nail another one. The top bar is harder than the wedge, so I bent my nail. No worries, I'll just do another one. And that's finished. That's all there is to it. Now, sometimes problems with these, another reason why I cut the bottoms off is when the bottom is tucked into the groove, down there you can see on the bottom, sometimes in expansion and contraction, if this doesn't get used immediately, or if the bees cluster on it and cause it to sag, right, they can warm it up and cause it to sag, you'll get ripples in this area here. Do I have a frame that can show you? I don't have one fresh with me. But you can get ripples in there, and then it's not straight, and I don't like that. And the thing that I kind of don't like about the wedge top is sometimes when the bees are clustering on here, they will actually pull the comb or pull the foundation out of the slot a little bit. And that'll cause the whole thing to sag, and you can get ripples down here even if you have this gap. So the next one I'm going to show you is, put this over here. Next one I'm going to show you, I'm going to embed with wax. Now this is a much older frame. It's got a solid bottom bar. You can rarely get those anymore. Wedge top bar. I'll do this the same as I did the other one. Okay. Foundation. It's got a little wax moth got on there. So I'm going to cut that edge off. Not that it matters. The bees don't care. They'll fix it. Toss these in my little wax melter. And then put it in the frame. Clip it on. Where do I clip it? There it is. Alright. Give it a second. Watch it. You can see there's a couple of spots that aren't doing it, so I'm going to press those in a little bit while it's hardening. We're good to go. If you don't want to use like I have a deep cycle battery that I had used for something else, and it was handy, so I had it. If you don't want to buy a deep cycle battery, or you don't have a, you can use, well, if you're doing this in the winter and you have a riding lawnmower, you could use your riding lawnmower battery, as long as you keep it on a charger so that it stays charged up. You can use your car battery. You can use a battery charger if you have the type of battery charger that will maintain a voltage even in open circuit. You can use things like wall warts, you know, a big 12 volt transformer. They call them wall warts sometimes. Anything that will produce enough voltage that will heat the wire up enough to melt through. But this is the best way that I've found to do it, because I basically have functionally unlimited amperage to work with. It's not actually unlimited. There is a limit to the battery, but I'm never going to reach that limit with this setup, so it works pretty well. The resistance through the wire controls how much amperage, and you know, you can do the math. You can find out how many watts you're using if you want. At one point, I actually had an ammeter hooked up to this, an automotive ammeter that I had laying around. It didn't really show much. It's only a couple of amps. Anyway, let's get to the wax welding part. This is just a Walmart syringe used for giving kids medicine. They're really cheap. I don't know if you can buy them, but this one came with one of the kids' prescriptions for cough syrup or something like that. I don't know. You can also buy from Dadent, which I'm planning to buy. I have not bought yet, but from Dadent they have a wax. What's it called? Anyway, it's a metal tube with a wooden handle with a thumb hole and a hole on the other end, so you can kind of dip it up like a straw. You can leave it sitting in your wax pot and dip it up like a straw and let go and weld it that way. So I'll get there eventually. It only costs like $7. Alright. So I'm just going to take the wax and I'm going to shoot it down in here. Whoops, splashed a little bit. Shoot it down in there like that. I'm going to empty out my syringe so it doesn't get all mucked up with wax. And you can start to see that hardening already. Give it a couple seconds. Now that is permanently attached. So when I go to, in a few years when I go to process this frame again, I will use a big vat of hot water, which you can see in one of my other videos, to melt out the wax and the foundation and the whole kit and caboodle, and then clean it up again with a hive tool just by scraping out the wedge part. But it is welded on there. So that one's done. Alright, now just to show you the difference in the speed at how this is done. This is a wedge top medium frame. And what I'll be using, and it's a divided bottom bar. You see that? And what I'll be doing with this is installing a piece of vertical wired small cell foundation, also from Man Lake. And that is right here. So this is vertical wired with hooks. You see the hooks? A little wire sticking out right here. So all you want to do with this one, forgot to crimp the wires first. Oh, and I meant to show you on that second frame. This frame uses eyelets again. You can see those. That second frame over here uses staples. Focus. Staples. Staples are much cheaper and they're way faster to put in. Not as pretty, as you can kind of see. You can also see this frame has been eaten up by wax moths at one point. So I get good use out of my equipment, and the bees don't care what it looks like. And nobody else does either, because it's inside the hive and then nobody ever really sees it. Alright, so we just tuck the bottom of the foundation, into the bottom of that. Stick a couple of nails in the wedge. This way I probably would not want to do the wax on the hook top foundation, because the vertical wired foundation can be a bit wonky and slightly crooked. So it really needs the wedge to hold those hooks in there. See, there it is. Now, normally, in fact, a lot of times I don't even use the horizontal wires, because with the vertical wires they're not really needed. But I wanted to show you, in this case, the difference in how fast, the wire heats up, because it's much faster, because there's only two paths, two lengths of wire in there rather than four. So are you ready? You're gonna miss it if you don't pay attention. Here goes. And that's it. Kind of press down, and the frame is done. Now, this is probably overkill, like I said, but Family Crest says if it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing. It doesn't really say that, but I imagine that it does. Why don't I'll do one more of these just so you can see the difference in how fast it goes. Because some people say they like to use to do it one wire at a time. And, well, maybe I'll demonstrate that, because that would be even faster. So it's up to you, however you want to do it. I'm just showing you how I do it so that you have some place to start from. I do not insist in any way that you have to do things the way that I do them. I'm just showing it to you how it can be done so that you have a place to work from when you want to do your own thing. Oh, and this is also a grooved bottom bar. So different bottom bar on this one, which sometimes can run into problems. You can see it happens on this one. Now the wires are too long ever so slightly, so I have to kind of push them down in. If they're too tight, they will cause the foundation to bow vertically. All right, you can't really see it on here. It's a little bit, but that's one of the things. One of the reasons why you need a good quality frame. Alright, 2 nails. And this is nice fresh wood. I bought these frames. No, maybe it's not that fresh. 2 years ago. Let's just say I bought it 2 years ago because I wanted to give it time to air out. Let's say that. Okay, there's the thing is done. Let's see, how much wire do I have? Oh, this wire is longer. Alright, so I'm going to hook this wire on the end. Well, I'm just going to tuck it in here because that's where it will fit. Now, are you ready to see how fast one wire will go? Someone could probably do the math for me on this one. Here it goes. It's really too fast because I don't have time. Don't have time to pay attention and get it. And then it's too hot and it lets go too soon. Oh well. I do this for you. The bees don't care. Alright, second one. See, it just goes so fast I can literally feel it. Like I can feel the wax sink into the wire. So there we go. That one's finished. And just for kicks and giggles, I'll show you one without horizontal wires. Sometimes you have to clean off little flash wood in there. Not always. I like to do it just so that I have a good grab on the foundation. Okay. And this is a divided bottom bar. Just going to stick it in here. These are when you're really getting fast. I'm not fast. But if you're getting fast, see, I just dropped it. So you can actually put it in through the bottom if it's convenient, if it doesn't have the hooks. You can also use like a brad nailer or a stapler instead of using a tack hammer, but that's up to you. It depends on how much time and energy you have. And I like to make sure I get a nice tight hold down on the foundation so that that wedge holds in the foundation. And that's all there is to that one. Foundation's fairly straight, not perfectly straight, but that's why our frame end bars are 1 3/8 wide. It gives us just a little bit of extra space in case there are some stuff like this. If you're using narrow frame beekeeping, where you shave the end bars down to 1 1/4 inches, I've had some problems with plastic frames especially. If there's any bow in the frame at all, it won't be deep enough for the bees to make a full cell. So, that's all there is to that. If you have any questions, either comment down below or comment on the Facebook post when I post this on Facebook in the Treatment Free Beekeeping group. Until next time, have fun keeping bees, because if you're not having fun, do something else.